Hello, everybody, and thanks for coming back for another episode of the Velo podcast. My name is Mike Levy. I'm your host for these things, but much more importantly, I have Velo's managing editor, aka the boss, Will Tracy, on the show today. Will, the last time we did one of these getting to know episodes, we discovered that Alvin used to work as a sports reporter for the Sacramento Kings. Go Kings! Josh used to be a long distance rollerblader, which I'm actually not too surprised about, to be honest with you. It kind of makes sense. So I'm sort of looking forward to hearing about how you maybe love to knit sweaters for your cat or your ever-expanding anime body pillow collection. I'm really looking forward to hearing about what you're about.
Oh, we will not be hearing about those things, but we'll hear about other things on this episode.
Okay, yeah. Everybody will keep those on the DL. Nobody knows about that stuff.
Yeah, they slip into the background every once in a while, but I got to push them out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think both of us would rather talk about bikes than ourselves. So luckily for us, we do have one important and very interesting and kind of weird bike to talk about today. Trek's new checkout full suspension bikepacking rig.
Yeah, totally. This thing feels like the quintessential mountain biker's gravel bike, which really makes me interested in your opinion on it as the resident mountain biker turned gravel biker here.
Yeah, the mountain biker that got lost.
Yeah, along the way.
Yeah. It is quite an interesting looking thing. So if you're listening to this, I'm sure you've seen it online. You might have seen photos of it already. It very much looks like a mountain bike, 60 millimeters of front suspension with the new Rudy XL with more tire clearance. And that's part of the thing that makes this possible. So that fork fits a 2.25 and 55 millimeters of rear wheel travel, 2.2 inch wide tires, a dropper post, but also a drop handlebar. So I have to say, Will, from a super shallow visual, like if I was just to judge it visually, it's one weird looking thing. Like it looks awkward, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely stuck in between. I think it's an extremely niche bike. Like it's not the first full suspension gravel bike to be tried, but it is going a lot bigger, it feels like, on suspension. Like the Niner MCR, what was that, like 5 or 6 years ago? That seemed like the first one that really tried to do this. Yeah. That thing had way less suspension. It was really one of those pioneering bikes in this area.
Yeah.
But like this thing has gotten a lot bigger. I think almost twice the travel of that MCR.
Yeah. It is a weird thing. And I think one of the things that we should say is kudos to Trek for making something like this. You know, I think they could have not easily, but like they could have taken like the super caliber platform and probably modified it and who knows, like made something like that work. But instead they made an entirely new thing from the ground up, which I think like for a company like Trek, who, I mean, I don't know what their bread and butter bikes are, but like they also sell like 1 million entry level road and mountain bikes and like zillions of hybrid bikes and like
totally.
city bikes and things like that. For them to make something that's so niche, kudos for them, for sure. Josh has an article on the homepage where he actually does mention the Topstone Lefty, the Diverge 4, and that old crazy MCR Niner thing.
It was the Diverge STR, wasn't it? The previous. Yeah. I rode that thing. That was interesting. Yeah.
What'd you think of that from like a road background? What did you think of suspension off road?
I enjoyed it quite a bit because it was like, if I can remember correctly, it was like 20 mil, 30 mils of travel, which is kind of what the whole ballpark of everyone, like every brand has tried something like this, like Cannondale, Topstone with the like Kingpin suspension. They all land around that ballpark of like rear suspension. And I liked it a bit, but it also just felt to me like something that was an added expense for something I didn't like it enough to like want to go buy that bike over this other bike and get the added weight and all those other features. But it worked well, in my opinion. It was a comfortable ride, but it was also something I feel like you could achieve very similarly with wider tires and lower pressure, the whole usual deal.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. I should also mention, I basically lived on a BMC Urus or URS. I don't know how you say it.
I don't know. It's an Alvin question.
Yeah, that is an Alvin question. I lived on one of those for 5 years, maybe something like that. And it has that little rubber bumper. I forget how much BMC says, how much travel they say it has. It might be 20 or 30 mils or something like that. I don't know. But riding a more traditional frame and then riding that thing, there's a noticeable difference, but it's like a muting. It's not like a suspension, you know? So I
Yeah.
haven't ridden this Trek, but I imagine, I mean, it's obviously, it is a full suspension bike. Like it has pivots and shit and like
Mhm.
all the real stuff. So it also has killer geometry, what I think is good geometry. And I think that's the other thing we should point out here is it has very long chain stays. It has a shit ton of stack, relatively slack head angle, which are all the things you want when your bike weighs 45 pounds because you have a week's worth of crap on it and you're riding
Yeah.
down like some sketchy ass gravel road. No down tube storage, but I think it has about 700 different mounting positions all down the down tube and like all over the frame. And you can also get that frame bag and a rack. So it looks really well thought out. I should probably ride one.
We can make that
But
happen. We
man,
can get you one.
I know, yeah. I know. Then I have to review it though. You should
Yeah,
get me
no,
one
that's the
and
trade-off.
then I'll just talk about it on the podcast. How's that
I
sound?
mean, I think Chuck would be happy enough with that, but yeah.
Yeah,
Think about it.
I'm interested because that's the kind of, it is like the exact sort of, or it's made for the exact sort of riding I do. Like a lot of the riding is super chunky where I am. A lot of times I've got, 20 pounds of gear on my bike. I will say, Will, it's interesting watching the reviews or the first impressions from other people in the industry who are coming from a road background. Everybody's making good stuff. I'm not saying they're not making good stuff, but it's someone who looks at this from a road perspective or who comes from a road perspective, even though they're riding a ton of gravel right now, is very different from someone like me who's looking at it from a mountain biker who is coming into gravel. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how many people like yourself do you think exist out there? How many Mike Levy's are there? Like,
Just one, baby.
big mountain bikers. There's only one Levy, and this bike was made just for you, so you should go buy it and support Trek.
Right.
Not everyone out there, just Levy.
Yeah. If you came to hang out in Squamish and we did some gravel rides on a a Sunday or a Saturday afternoon, we would see 100, 200 mountain bikers riding gravel bikes in a couple hours. It is I know it's a completely different world where you're from, but like everyone here has had mountain bikes, or a lot of people here had mountain bikes forever. A lot of people are looking for just something different where they won't die, it makes tame trails really fun. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. This is like your retirement option out of like ending up in the hospital every year.
Oh, hey, we both know we're going to the hospital. I'm going to the hospital. Unfortunately, you are sometimes because of me too.
I'm almost back, yeah. Let's not ride together again, because I'm about ready to ride.
The next time we ride together, what we need to do is like I need like a 10-foot safety bubble all the way around me, and you're not allowed to enter the perimeter.
Have you seen those Zorbs that people play soccer in? Yeah, give me one of those. Exactly. Full bubble boy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. So anyways, this Trek, I would love to ride one. Maybe that'll happen at some point soon. It looks very interesting, and if I got one, I would ride the piss out of it and do some big-ass adventures. So let's talk about that after the podcast, Will.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's plan an adventure.
Yeah. For now, though, let's talk about you.
Ooh.
Does that make you feel uncomfortable?
Oh, a little bit. I want to talk about bikes.
Yeah, no, me too. Okay, so what we're going to do is a getting to know episode here with Will Tracy, because he's the managing editor of Velo. This is the guy who is deciding which way the good ship Velo points. I don't think your job title, it's not officially Big Willie, but behind your back, that's kind of what that's what I call you, boss man Big Willie. What do you do at Velo? Like you're managing editor, but like what kind of decisions are you making day to day?
Day to day, yeah. I mean, it's a little bit of everything to an extent runs through me. If anyone has a question about anything on the site, what we want to cover, it comes through me. So we're making decisions on basically where we want to allocate our resources to talk about more world tour cycling, more gravel cycling, more tech coverage. Basically, daily life is just figuring out what direction we're going to go every day and what we're going to write about, what's worth writing about, and what we want to prioritize every day. So that's
Yeah.
it in a nutshell, I guess. And on top of that, there's so many other things to keep on top of, which is like freelancers and uh, social media and other stuff internal to our like other, I would say, corporate stuff. So kind of just balancing everything.
Looking in from, I guess I'm not on the outside. I don't go to the meetings or anything, but I know you
Yeah.
guys. Uh, it seems like a big part of your job is maximizing the limited resources or getting like deciding what's most important and pointing the resources towards that. Like you can't cover everything, even though we would like to. So, like, how do you decide to say, hey, Elvin, you're going to go to Europe to cover this, and Josh, you're going to go do this? Like, is there some sort of decision making process?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to say it's a like structured hierarchical process that I follow every time, but uh, it comes down to a lot of the times it's just like, does this interest me? Does this interest everyone else at the site? Because at the core, everyone here is like a bit of a bike nerd, a bit of a bike racing nerd. So
Yeah.
we can kind of follow all of our intuition, say like, yeah, that's way cooler than this, or that bike is interesting, that bike is not interesting. Let's go get that one in for review and let's hold that one for later. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So we know what you do. We got to go back and start from where you came from. Little Tracy origin story. Where did you grow up, Will?
Yeah. For those who listened to the previous Get to Know You episode, I'm actually also from Sacramento, same city as Alvin. Uh, Despite us being a few years apart in age, I never knew of Alvin or knew Alvin growing up. But yeah, my story starts in Sacramento, California.
And how the heck did you find bikes? I don't mean like the first bikes, but I mean like bikes, like how we do
Like
now.
in
How
yeah,
did you find them?
getting real into bikes. I mean, there's like a couple of things that happen at the same time. It's like there was this real big kind of fixie scene going on, fixed gear uh, thing, which I think Alvin also mentioned in his
Oh
episode.
yeah.
But yeah, like there's
Yeah.
this whole like community of people in Sacramento who are basically middle school to high school age who would all just get really cool fixies and other cool like road bikes and just start riding those around. It's a very like bikeable place, very flat.
Yeah.
Great river trails nearby. The American River Parkway is amazing. It's like 36 miles. Um, so it's just a really great place to bike. So like to start with, I was already biking all these places. I got to like middle school. I was already like biking to school in like elementary school, but I got to like middle school and just started to really get more into it. My dad had this old Giant in the garage. He was not necessarily a huge cyclist, but he had an old road bike in there that like if I slammed the saddle to the top of the seat tube, I could fit
Yeah.
on it. So then I started like I took that thing out one day and just realized like, oh man, this thing is so fast. This is so fun. Yeah, so I started riding that. Uh, but I think the catalyst, the real big thing that got me like really into bikes was probably the Tour of California.
Oh
Because
really? Oh.
yeah, growing up in Sacramento, it was host to or like a stage went through it at least for most editions. So yeah, one year I kind of started getting more into bikes, and then the Tour of California was coming, and I just remember going out on the parkway, like the bike trail nearby, and seeing all the pros out there, and it was so cool because like you grow up. Sacramento has an NBA team. I had never seen a single one of those players like in real life ever growing up
Yeah.
outside of actually going to a game. And here was all these huge riders, these huge stars just out and about going for a ride. And I could just like I tried to stay with them, but I was like 12 at the time, so I could not keep up at all. But yeah,
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
just so fast. But I remember being like thinking, "Oh, this is so cool." And then I went to watch the actual race, and I remember going up to a team that I was starting to like, which was the Velo test team, because they at the time they had these videos online that I was getting into, like the Beyond the Peloton series,
Yep.
which was now there's so much bike media today. Like everybody has a million things, a million podcasts, a million series. But back in the day, like that was basically it. If you wanted access to road cycling, it was. I say back in the day, like it's 2009. It's not that long ago, but
It's like I was 40 then.
yeah. Times have moved very quickly on the internet. But
Yeah.
yeah, there was just nothing out there. So I was watching Beyond the Peloton series from the Velo test team. There was also a documentary I watched about the HTC, like the Columbia High Road team. I forget what iteration of the team name it was then, but it was about their 2009 tour or 2010 where Cav won 6 stages. So it followed them through there. Because that team was also based in California. So my sister was actually going to college in the town where they were technically based out of, which was San Luis Obispo. So she bought me
Yeah.
that DVD, and then I remember watching that and liking that a bunch. But basically, going back to my tangent, I really was liking this Velo test team because of like they were the only team out there putting out like media about all these different races, really kind of starting to get me absorbed into this crazy sport that you would know nothing about growing up in the
Yeah.
US, unless like you had a really like unless you grew up in Boulder or your parents are already crazy cyclists, which mine weren't. They're like they rode bikes, but they weren't into the culture or anything like this. Um, but yeah, I think it
Interesting.
started there. So I went to visit the team bus after the stage. Uh, it was so cool. One of the riders, like 'cause at the time, I had this my first road bike I bought from bikesdirect.com, which was a $300 yellow bike. It had unbranded Shimano stem shifters. Like it was it barely worked, but it was great. I rode so much on that thing. And one of the cyclists from this fellow test team remembered my bike and remembered seeing me like out there on the bike trail the other
Dude,
day. So
how cool is that for a
it was
kid?
so cool as like a 12-year-old. So and he went and grabbed me a hat, like which I still have somewhere in a sock drawer. Um, so that was
It's
like such a cool memento.
it's crazy how those moments affect everything. You
Oh yeah,
know, like you, I mean, you did love bikes and stuff, but maybe if that didn't happen, you would have drifted into, well, not rollerblading, but soccer or whatever, you know, but
totally.
you were obviously a big fan of the sport. And why do you think that you were attracted to this weird European sport with all these people wearing tight clothes and shaving instead of, I mean, what else happens in Sacramento? Football or basketball or whatever, like a
Yeah,
normal thing.
baseball. Like, I mean, like I was still like I'm still a fan of the classic American sports. So I watch football and baseball and basketball and all the things, but getting into yeah, I don't know, getting into cycling, I think it was something about the like the romance of the culture, like the riding in all these cool places. Like I should back up. I also watched like the tour growing up, so I kind of that already I think already planted a seed. It was like the Lance Armstrong days, and everyone was really into biking, but like it didn't really
Yeah.
last beyond that. But I was already like grew up watching the tour every day as a kid, and that kind of like got into it in that way. But yeah, just watching, I think this like travel log of like cool places you could ride your bike, and like this, then like more and more you kind of get in and start knowing like the tactics and kind of getting more absorbed to a
Yeah.
point where you're like kind of in on this like culture that other people aren't, and you can like other people watch a bike race if they never don't know what's going on, it's extremely boring. But if you're watching and like know what's going on, why someone's doing this, why someone's attacking now, why everything's happening, it's becomes interesting for like 4 hours of you know otherwise what's maybe doesn't seem like anything's going on to other people.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Was it always road bikes? Was it always drop bars?
Yeah, it's funny enough, I think like like the usual timeline is people get into mountain bikes and then they get into road bikes at some point
When they get old.
in yeah, when they get old, like generally it's like what you're describing is now it's everyone gets older in mountain biking and then they get into drop bar and gravel. But I think like it's either you are like a really promising junior on mountain bike and they're like, well, why don't you go over to road because there's a more like established career path or there's more like opportunities there and to make a world tour team if you really have the engine for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I was always just like enamored with road cycling and just loved everything about it. And then I also growing up in a flat place in Sacramento,
Yeah.
there wasn't really much opportunity to mountain bike unless I like got in a car and drove someplace, which wasn't happening for myself when I was 12, 13. So
Right. Yeah.
I got the fastest bike I could get to get me out on the river trail and get as far away from home as possible in a day, and then come back.
That's all any young boy wants, isn't
Yeah,
it?
go
Just
do
gotta
some
get
hokey
away from
shit,
home.
like yeah, like follow out the train tracks and other things you're not supposed to be doing in middle school. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Young Will, when he was doing all this and he had his road bike and he was watching the racing, what kind of rider did young Will want to be? Like, did you look up, were you like a massive Cav fan, or, were you a Lance fan? What were you doing? What did you
I
want
mean,
to do?
yeah, I mean, definitely like I don't know if I ever had like a set like I mean I think everyone has when they start with that out in any sport when they're younger they have some like delusions of like yeah I'll go pro in this of course
Yeah,
it's like
I
makes
still
sense.
do.
uh, but
Uh,
I don't know, I would say one rider who I really liked as a really first getting into the sport, and this was before I like as I was just really getting into it and learning more characters, was probably Heinrich Hausler from the Cervelo
yeah,
test team, and I think what got me was his like he was a classics guy, and I say was he's recently retired and now he's a DS. I'm blanking on the team. I can't remember if it is Jayco or if it's Tudor. But he's involved in one team. Don't quote me on that right now.
yeah,
But yeah, he was a classics guy, and then he won a really gritty stage of the Tour de France in I think 2010, where like he broke away, won by many minutes in the rain, and just seeing like, oh, like that's such a cool way to win. I think I don't know had an impact on me as a kid.
yeah,
But yeah, I think the stage hunters, like the punchers, those kind of guys
yeah,
were pretty interesting to me. I think I also got really into like the culture of the classics and like the Belgian races as a kid because those just seemed like so crazy and otherworldly, and then like just seeing how many fans there were on the side of the road on those
yeah.
videos, like that really I don't know, that did something for me.
Yeah. I remember watching the tour. It might have been on NBC when I was like, probably not even, I don't know. I might have been like 12,
Was it
13,
was it
maybe
the
even younger.
Versus Network
Oh, yeah.
going back in
I
time?
have no idea. Yeah, I have no
Going
idea.
the four
Uh,
networks that showed it during that time, but
yeah. I remember watching the climbers, like I remember watching guys like Pantani, and just like they looked alien. It looked so foreign to me that like they were my favorites, I think, because it was just like, I mean, it is humanly impossible, it turns out.
yeah,
But like it looked humanly impossible what they were doing, and like just these like little tiny people that could go so fast. I always found that interesting. Very interesting.
yeah, yeah. No,
Did you?
that's it's insane. The first time you like actually get out and see pros going up a hill is whether it's they're out on a training ride or you're out at a race. Just that's you're gonna know instantly that you'll never be a pro when you see that
Oh
happen.
yeah. Oh, yeah. People, for everybody that's listening, if you've never been to a pro race, not like local pros, like local pros are fast. Of course. We all know local pros who are like literally twice as fast, three times as fast as us. But when you see, I mean, I'm talking about mountain biking now, but like when you go to a World Cup or a race, a big race like that, and you see these people climb, it's quickly apparent that there is no world where like you can compete no matter what. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
no, it's insane.
Uh, did you do any racing growing up?
Yeah, I got into racing really more in college, because it's a little bit, I would say, not difficult, but it's definitely a sport that unless your parents are like really into or like you find some support system that like really funnels you into this kind of expensive sport where you have to travel far distances. It's a little bit hard to get into um,
Yeah,
before collegiate cycling, which is I think the case with a lot of people in the US. They'll get their start um, in college basically because they get there, they find a group of people who are like-minded and like riding bikes, and maybe you've gotten out of some other sport in high school like cross country or track, which I also did in high school, some other endurance thing, and then find like a more fun outlet of that
yeah,
basically through bikes. But yeah, racing for me was like I did that in college at UC Santa Barbara. uh, yeah, so it was a lot of fun. And I got like I really enjoyed we're traveling to a new city every weekend with my teammates. We'd all just load into a van and drive, 6 8 hours wherever it was across the state
Yeah.
to a new
Bonding and
place.
whatnot.
Yeah, the whole thing. Staying 4 people to a Motel 6 room, so 2 people in each bed, doing it as dirt cheap as possible.
Classic.
Yeah, that was a ton of
How
fun.
did the racing go? And what kind of
Went
races were you
well.
doing?
So every weekend was structured as a criterium and then a road race, or usually it was road race Saturday, crit Sunday. Um,
Okay.
I remember my first ever race, race weekend, just lowest tier, just got completely dropped. Like I was kind of in shape, but like also was definitely at that point not in shape. And then I kind of learned very quickly like what it took to actually be in a race and actually do well. And then it kind of luckily just quickly progressed. Like I stuck with it and kept really training hard. Um, and then that season I went from like, okay, I got dropped to I finished in the pack to, oh, I got like third or second in a race. So, and then you move up. They have like different categories in road racing. So in collegiate. So you start with the D's and you move up to C's, B's, A's. But yeah, it also helped having made some friends who were really good juniors who made the realization that college was probably a better track for them than trying to go to Europe and racing and probably being a mid-level pro at best. But that meant they were
Yeah.
super fast in college. So I think riding with them and getting encouragement from them like really fast tracked me to like riding hard and becoming really fast.
Did you make it to Cat A? Did you win? Don't be shy.
I did not. I stopped before Cat A. I got to Cat B, and then I stopped racing after I went. No, I studied abroad in the 1 year in Denmark, which also really leads into how I got into the bike job I have now. But that was during race season, so I stopped. I didn't race that season in collegiate, but I got to B's and I was doing pretty well. But also, I started seeing a bunch of people crashing around me, and then I was like, got more scared about racing, which I think that realization hit me sooner than happens to some cyclists. But
Yeah.
that was not quite worth like possibly breaking your bike that you already paid way too much money for and you can't afford as a college student, and then probably ending up in the hospital. And yeah, so I don't know. I think it's the
Yeah.
thing a lot of people grapple with racing. At a certain point, I managed to escape without ever breaking anything until
Until you
earlier
met
this year.
me.
So we did our field test
Shit.
together, um, which I would like to attribute to good road handling and good
Yeah.
sense of when people are about to do something dumb, and also just sheer luck because totally so many crashes happen around you where you're like, if that guy had just veered left instead of right, he would have taken me
Right.
out instead of that guy. But yeah, I did that, and that's right around the time that gravel became more of a thing. So I kind of got more into gravel riding at that time. But yeah. Anyway, well, I already teased you with the lead into me studying abroad in Denmark. That kind of led to me getting my first foot in the door in cycling media. Because
How did you do that? Because I think a lot of people would love to put their foot in the cycling media.
yeah, I mean, I it's just one of those like right place, right time, talk to the right person. I was studying abroad and I was at a bar for students, and I ended up meeting this guy whose dad was the editor at Peloton magazine. So his son was Sean, and we then like started to hang out more. I normally like with bikes, it's such like a niche thing that I generally don't lead with like, oh, it's one of the things I'm into when you meet a new person. But for whatever reason, I did that
Right.
time,
Keep
and
it
it really paid
secret.
off. It's not like a secret. It's just like, oh, I'm just trying to find common ground quickly, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, um, but that time, like, I just like told him what I was about, and like, oh yeah, I like road biking and stuff. And he's like, oh no way, me too. And like he was going to Belgium over the spring break for the Tour of Flanders to like help the Peloton crew with their with their coverage of the race. And independently, I had already booked a travel out to Belgium to go watch the race myself. So when I found that out, I just
Well,
went out and started hanging out with them.
this is what's called fate.
Yeah.
Everything was aligning and coming together, and you were being funneled towards to that race for that reason to have this job eventually. That's what I believe.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cool story. So I think I kind of had to follow it. I mean, at that point, I was kind of interested already in bike media. I had written down like I just found this note recently cleaning out clutter, but like it was in my college notes stuff, and I was like, all right, I don't know what I wanted to do. I was studying environmental studies. It interested me, and I liked it, but I don't know what to do with them. Or had like a real job that isn't like hourly at some shop
Yeah.
or something. So I was trying to figure that out. But like pipe dream jobs, I wrote down one of them was like work at Velo News question mark, which I forgot about. But yeah, I think I may have willed that into existence by writing that down.
Amazing.
So yeah, I don't know.
Manifesting.
I don't like to. Yeah, I think I manifested, but I don't think I believe in that stuff. But I think I do now.
What? Yeah, you 100% do. Even if you say you don't, deep down, you
Down
100%
like
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something just to be said for like just no matter like how ridiculous or like I don't know, it's not like a ridiculous job, but like no matter how like it doesn't seem likely that you'll end up in this world just or wherever you want to be. I think you should just at least give it an honest shot and like try to put yourself in the positions and the places where you would end
Yep.
up actually being able to do that.
I think there's a lot to be said for doing what you want to do. And I think, I look at the people that I grew up with and or like acquaintances too and friends and stuff. And like a lot of people, it's way easier said than done because life's super complicated. But like most people don't have the option, I should say, of just a lot of times doing what they feel like they want to do or don't feel like they should do what they want to do. Do you know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Totally.
Where sometimes if you just keep doing what you want to do, you end up actually doing it, which is pretty cool. So did you cover the race when you went to Flanders?
Yeah, they actually snuck me a press pass. I don't know if you saw the Flanders
Oh,
Classics.
man.
So they had an extra one for they were working with photographer James Start at the time, and he had gotten one for an assistant, but I think he ended up not taking an assistant to the race. So he just gave it to me. Um, and at this time, I was
Another reason it's meant to be.
yeah. So I helped. Like I didn't actually end up like anything I did. Nothing I did made any of their like coverage, but I did bring my cameras at the time. I'm like I've been into or at the actually around the same time I got into bikes, I got into photography, and I had been doing that more. I was shooting as a journalist for the Daily Nexus, the school paper, but I had my cameras with me, so I brought those out and really made the most of the access with that pass, and I got some really sweet photos on the Koppenberg of like people off their bikes and walking towards me. Um,
Yeah.
so that was really cool. Still, some of like the favorite bike photos I've ever taken were just from that first race. I think it's just a sentimental value of like, oh my God, I'm at a pro race and I'm like in front of the barriers and it's totally
You
chill.
have a press pass around your neck.
Like, okay, it's cool.
How did this happen?
Yeah,
So
worked out.
how did you end up working for Peloton?
Yeah, so from there, they were looking for an intern. If we fast forward like a month later, they reached out because they were based in Ojai, California, which is about a 45-minute hour drive from UCSB. So they reached out to the cycling club that I was part of, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I want to do that. So whatever it is they need me to do, I'm gonna be there." So I
Yeah.
applied, and I think it helped that I already met them, um, and I seemed to get along with them for like the day I was with them. Um, but yeah, they gave me like a sample writing assignment to do, and
What
they
was it?
liked it.
Do you remember?
Um, Yeah, it was a gear guide. So like I had some products that I liked, and then I wrote a gear guide for them
Okay.
to throw in, and I guess I did a good job because they published it and they
Oh,
liked it.
cool.
So yeah, so like first
How
thing
was
first,
that?
that was exhilarating to get like the first magazine like with my name in the headmast as like oh someone I contributed to something I helped.
Yeah. But I mean, seriously though, for like a kid that you grew up watching these races and you were always a fan of the sport of racing, and all of a sudden your name is on the masthead of a magazine covering a race or covering gear or whatever, like kind of surreal, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was so cool. Like I kept that thing out on our like my living room coffee table book. Like I was in college still, so I was in a room or a place with like five other guys, and it was cool to have that just like to place out
Yeah.
on the book on the
Yeah.
coffee table. Um, yeah, it was really cool. And then yeah, from there I was working for them over the summer, and then just realized, oh, they still need help. So I just stayed on throughout the year and just like kept coming in like once a week. I rearranged my schedule so I could take a day off from classes, or I only had classes 4 days a week. So I used that
Yeah.
extra day to drive into Ojai, and um, they had this like felt like a magical thing to me in college, but like it's just their office was just full of cool new bikes and like a photo studio. Um, and so that was a really cool way to spend my like fifth day a
Yeah.
week instead of going to some other class.
Tell me about working at Peloton. It's obviously very different than what you do now. We'll get into paper versus or print versus internet in a few minutes, but just what was working at Peloton like? Who did you work with?
Yeah, I worked with so Ben Edwards there is the one who hired me. He was the tech editor. He moved on about a year later, but to work as a marketing director at a big bike brand. But the publisher was Brad Rowe, and I worked closely with him a lot. He also lived in Ojai. Um, Great guy, one of the most genuine people you'll ever meet, and like someone who really, 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 really cares about the thing he's making
Yeah.
and the people who
Yeah.
are making it. So that was really cool to be working with like a group of people who seemed to like they're really into cycling and they were really into making this beautiful magazine. Um, so like it was just a cool workplace to come into. However many days a
Yeah.
week, as I slowly increased throughout the year, and then I went full time at the end of my senior year.
Do you remember going to your first press camp or maybe going to cover your first like official race for them? What that was like?
Yeah, what was the first press camp? I think there's two things. There's one was at Sea Otter in April, and I remember skipping a test to go so I could go cover Sea Otter, which is the first time. And like
Yes.
I was a very studious, like I'm very was locked down on school. Like I was very on top of
Yeah.
everything, but that was the first time in my life I were just like, this is more important to like go to this activity or like this press activation and do this work thing because I think this is leading towards a job. At that point, I still hadn't gotten like a full-time offer from them, but I was like, this is gonna think that's gonna help lead to that. So I just
Yeah.
didn't do
Good.
the test, um, which I think ultimately one of them got dropped or something. I don't know. It worked out. I got an A in the class, but um, yeah, it was. I think it was a Giro Empire shoe launch that they were just doing because everyone at that time was just coupling their launches around Sea Otter because there was already, everybody's already there.
Yeah.
So that was just some riding around Monterey, which roads I already knew pretty well from racing and just growing up in California, um, on some brand new shoes. So, which was really cool because my shoes were a little bit thrashed at that point. So getting a new pair of road shoes was amazing. And also then having them for like a month before the official launch date or however long it was. I was like, oh God, I got the new, I got the
It
unreleased stuff.
it feels like a secret, right?
Yeah, it
And
does.
now, to be fair, now if a new pair of shoes came in for you and you had to cover them, you'd be like, "Oh God, I have to write about this as well." You'd be appreciative, but like it's another thing to cover.
Totally. I
Where
mean,
back
that's
then it's like,
something,
"Whoa,
yeah,
cool."
that's something I've been reflecting on. Like, you do end up getting a lot of kit and gear to try in this job, but I remember how exciting the first things I got. Like, I remember getting a pair of, I didn't get to keep these, but I did get to ride them for a while, like some Zip 404 Firecrest wheels. This is still rim brake days. Um, those were incredible. Like how like the first time you use all these like nicer products, you're like, wow, this is incredible. These are all great. And then you get to the
Yeah.
point where you're like, I've had 50 wheel sets and this one's also really good. But it's not like that first delta between like my shitty box section wheels and then like a pair of $2,000 wheels, and then that's never going to be matched by whatever you're going from those $2,000 wheels to like a $3,000 set of wheels is.
Yeah, the perspective change is
Yeah.
something, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
totally.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you got the exact same thing in mountain bike testing.
Well, I think that it's pretty rare these days for a young man like yourself to have worked in both print and online. For
Yeah.
those listening, can you compare the two? What are some of the differences and adjustments that you've had to make? Because I'm sure there have been some.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, the biggest things are just the timelines of everything. Now working online, it's just constant, churning out stories all the time, and um, not that we weren't constantly like working at Peloton, especially as a small crew. It's every time you say the number of people who actually made that, it's always people get surprised because you can put out a really high quality thing with a small number of people, but if all those people are working really hard and doing their thing. But yeah, the biggest thing is the pace. It's just kind of a more constant churning out stories, news. Try to put a little bit more time on like bigger features and devote more time to that. But there's just always things that need to happen. Versus print, you're kind of more focused around a single deadline for each issue. So you're always
Hmm.
doing stuff and working towards it, but it would usually be more of like okay, the month would like crescendo into like, oh, I'm on deadline this week to get all these stories out. I'm unfortunately a little bit of a procrastinator by nature. So the deadline did help, but it also meant that I was just like would do a week of like really like cranking stuff out and like really doing my best work. Um,
Yeah.
and then it would like kind of crescendo until like I get all the stories in, and then it goes off and Tim Chamber would do the layout and we would get all the stories edited and then create the product. But yeah, it's a very different pacing between online and print, and sometimes I miss the print a little bit, but it's also advantages to
Yeah.
it feels more like kind of locked into the world when you're online and you're always just on the pulse of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I'm going to say something loaded. It's a loaded question, actually. Do you think that print is more special than online? That's probably not the right way to word it, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for that. Print is a really great medium still for like longer form stories, things that are a little bit more in depth, showing images, like photography. It's really it's not a great format for news or timely things, especially in such a niche like world as ourselves. It's just at this point you couldn't really make any news magazine when
Yeah.
everyone's expectation is instantaneous with the internet. Um, but doing like more in-depth features, giving more space, like if you look at a photo online, like we published a photo, most people are going to pull out their phone and look at it, and it's going to be like a 1 inch by 1 inch little thing on their phone. But if you give it a full like spread on the, in a magazine, people are going to stop and look at that thing, look at that photo,
Yeah.
really study it, take it in, and appreciate it so much more than they would have otherwise. So I think there's something there for bigger features, bigger, more important photos or more beautiful photos or things you really want people to stop and like look at, and you want them to go back and look at in like a year or however long. You could pull out any issue of Peloton basically and be able to have something in there that's still interesting or relevant, or something you take from it versus just being everything outdated news stories.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. It's a different thing. I still find myself buying like car magazines every now and then and like just like to hold it to, I don't know. It is a completely different
Yeah.
thing.
No, totally. And like now the Peloton crew has moved on to another thing called Fausto, which they're still doing the beautiful print magazine. So if you want a road print magazine, road and gravel, go check out Fausto. It's the people who created Peloton. It's Brad Rowe and Tim Chamber, Adam Reek.
Yeah, I'm sure it's killer.
Yeah.
Uh if I went into your bike storage room or wherever the heck you store all your bike related things, what kind of bikes am I going to see? What kind of bikes does Will own?
That I actually own. Let's see. Oh, I've got a beat to hell 90s rock hopper that is on its
Yes.
last leg. It's been on its last leg for years. I bought it from a sea captain in Santa Barbara. He had to come to shore to answer his Craigslist ad. And he sold it to me for $70. I have put more into tires on that bike than the actual bike cost me.
Nice.
But that was sometime in college, and now I've had that bike for like a decade, and finally it's like the years of basic maintenance, like it's funny. Like I could fix it up. I could make it better, but it would just cost too much money for what it's ultimately a slowly deteriorating rust bucket. So I
Yeah.
think it's on his last leg. The brake cables are fraying in a bad way. Everything's rusting. I can't. There's only so much chain lube you can throw onto a rusty chain to make it work.
Yeah.
So that
Exactly.
one that's the bar bike, the around town bike. Actually at this point I hope someone does steal it, but no one will steal it bike. Um, except I have a really nice physique saddle on there because I've had just like a few extra saddles laying around. Um,
Yeah.
but actual bikes I own, I have a Lightspeed Watcha gravel bike,
Cool.
which was I think I bought it like 4 or 5 years ago. It's just one at the time I was really into the idea of a forever bike, which is a concept that I believe in less now. That I think I've just time has gone on. You realize, oh, there's always going to be another bike that interests you. But I still love riding it. It's got a good geometry that felt somewhere in the middle between like the road focused and more like, I don't know, stigmata mountain biker side of gravel.
Yeah.
But it's something that like really feels good to me. Um, and I've used that as kind of a baseline to test some gravel wheels and other things. So it's nice just to have kind of like a home base bike to go back to. And one you can just kind of as a palate cleanser between like testing other bikes. Yeah, so that one's a ton of fun. And then my personal road bike is a Felt FR from like 2020, um, which I also bought a few years into working in this industry because I at the time had a rim brake bike, so I wanted one that was disc brakes, and that one that I could test newer products on and also have this kind of palate cleanser. And also felt gave
Yeah.
me a good like discount on it, so I was like, okay, I'll get that one. I'll pull the trigger.
That's always helpful.
Yeah, that is a big deciding factor in many of these things, but
Forget about
yeah.
geometry. Is this thing on sale?
Basically, is it good enough for me? It's like we're not so different from everyone else buying a bike at the end of the day because we like don't get to keep these like nice bikes that come in. Those have to go back. But if we're looking to buy the personal bikes, it's such an advantage to be able to try all the ones basically you want to try. Get
Yeah.
the extended test ride and then be like, all right, I actually like this one. I'm sure they don't actually want this bike back because they're just going to end up selling it to their employees at the end of the season, the media bikes. So I think so often enough they're happy just to sell it to us for like the employee pricing.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we wrap this up, I want to talk about the future a little bit. There's been a lot of change at Velo over the years and the previous other names. uh, in the future, what do you see Velo looking like? Would you like to see, maybe more coverage of something or less coverage of something else, or a bigger team or a smaller team? What do you see this thing looking like?
Yeah, I mean, always. I think the guiding thing for us is it's historically Velo News has been a North American focus product, whether it's on the writers or from the perspective of the staff. Um, and I really want to keep hammering home that as like a home for coverage of North American events, North American writers, and yeah, and just kind of stay true to those roots of what this brand is. Um, and another thing we really want to keep building is gear authority. Like we feel like have done a really great job with Josh and Alvin in the last couple years of really thoroughly testing bikes, being a place that people come to now for like their first opinions on bikes, and being a place that like any kind of new big release that you want to check out, we will have some coverage of it. We'll have some a podcast episode about it here, or we'll have a video review on the site. So I think just continuing to build that like trust and gear authority, and bring people coming back to Velo for that.
Yeah, there's always going to be new bikes, isn't there?
Always
I'm
gonna
sure
be
there's
new
some
cool
right
bikes
now
that we
we have
want
to
to
go
check
write
out.
about.
Yes, there always are actually.
I'm sure there's an embargo that's literally about to lift that either Alvin or Josh are just finishing up the words about right now.
You're actually correct, and Josh is literally riding the bike right now and then finishing up his review. So uh,
Oh,
by the time this goes live, the bike will already be on the site. But go check
some
it out.
behind the scenes there,
Some
everybody.
behind the scenes.
Yeah. Okay, well, that was fun. That was a good chat. It was good getting to know you and where you came from. I was not aware of a lot of that. So I learned some things. And yeah, everybody, thanks for being here for another episode of the Velo podcast. Will, I'm going to go email somebody at Trek about this cool gravel bike or bikepacking bike. And hopefully we'll get one of those here. What are you, the managing editor of Velo News, what are you going to work on for the rest of the week?
Rest of the week, rest of the day. I've got several stories submitted that need to be edited right now. So I'm going to do that. I am going to then work on planning out some more coverage for the rest of the year now that we're kind of at the end of our main road season. It's a little bit of time to catch our breath, but really it means that we're going straight into there's no really off season in this stuff. Like
No.
there's times when there's less racing to talk about, but there's still plenty of tech coverage to happen. There's still plenty of interesting features that we can go more in depth on, especially that we have a little bit more free time away from news. So it's kind of an exciting time of year. We get to kind of dig into like ideas that we've thought about earlier in the year that maybe we didn't necessarily have time to do earlier in the year. Get to go kind of decide which one of those are we want to pursue and hand those out to each of the writers. All
right. Okay. Will, I'm going to let you go. Well, you're the boss, so I'm going to say, I'm going to go work really hard. Probably going to go for a ride.
Yes,
though.
You are.
And we will see everybody next week. See you later.